It's today the news from Vanguard Live. My name is Damlola Ogun Shaki, and of course, we start with Vanguard on the paper review. Vanguard is leading with insecurity, our lack of surveillance tech aids at criminals and terrorists. Nigeria's $450 million failed CCTV project, foiling insecurity in FCT and others. Abductions for ransom now order of the day. CCTV contractor vanishes with $490 million. That's according to Aliero. Seven-term House of Reps said project abandoned. Failed project, national embarrassment. That's according to DSS boss. We have strengthened the security agencies to meet emerging challenges. That's according to the president. You can see that story on page 14 of Vanguard newspaper. And there's a picture here that was taken at APC caucus meeting. On page 28, June 12th annulment. I will challenge my prosecution by Ibrahim Babangida. That's according to Falano. Customs raises concern over tax reform bills. Bills, crucial step towards achieving Tinubu's $1 trillion economy. That's according to Senate. United States excludes United Kingdom, Nigeria, others from visa-free entry for 2025. I have never discussed running for president in 2031 with anybody that's coming from Ribadu. And on sports, death of Nigerian footballer, controversy rages in Uganda. Above the banner on page 20, federal government reform responsible for rising oil production, that's according to the president. Lagos Assembly crisis, Miranda agrees to step down if, that's according to sources. And coming from the presidency, we are verified ought because he wasn't made minister. Plot against Murtala Muhammad started from day one. That's coming from Ibrahim Babangida. You can see that story on page 7. Now we'll move straight to the Guardian. Guardian's leading story says that Jonathan Jega carpet politicians, judiciary, INEC overflowed elections. That can be seen on page 6. Natasha sues Akpabio aid 100.3 billion naira for alleged defamation as Senate considers punishment. You can see that on newspaper 30. On newspaper 6, APC begins 2027 groundwork as Tinubu governors, party leaders meet on internal crisis. IPP revelation, Igbo group demands 100 trillion naira compensation for Indigo. And non-oil sector pushes GDP up by 3.84% in the fourth quarter. Court remands Lagos Assembly workers for alleged assault on DSS officers. And directly below the banner, we have Tinubu OK's 1 trillion naira financing for state to strengthen PHC. That can be seen on page 30. Now, from there, we move to the nation. Nation is leading with services. Petrol refining sectors propel GDP growth to 3.84%. This is fastest growth rate in 3 years, says Edu. Yusuf, economy on track. FCCPC invites a multi-choice CEO over DSTV a subscription hike. You can see that on page 25. And directly below the banner, we have why IOCs won't leave Nigeria by Lukobiri. Teachers jailed for raping pupils. Reconciliation, inclusivity for new members top APC NEC agenda. President holds the national caucus. Above the banner, we have attack on APC, Tinubu, presidency, Ribadu, mockery child, El-Rufai. Natasha sues Akpabio others for 100.3 billion naira. Kogi senator faces ethics panel. Lastly, on the nation, we have 15 million candidates registered for UTME exam to hold April 23. That can be seen on news page 8. And lastly, the Punch newspaper. Punch is leading with why INEC vote can't be accurate, says Jonathan. Ex-president decries ghost voters. Regional influences seek electoral reforms. You can see that on page 2. On page 20, Senate backs Akpabio as Natasha files 100.3 billion naira information suit. APC dismisses anti-Ganduje plot as El-Rufai absent from NEC meeting. Obasa awaiting ruling before returning to assembly. That's according to lawyer. And above the banner, we have South governors move against Wike's camp over PDP Congress crisis. Tax reform, Senate plans review as customs ASO for provision. Afenifere backs Carlos says declaring Abiola president long overdue. Lastly, on the Punch newspaper, we have Nigeria's World Bank debt may eat $9.2 billion as federal government eyes six loans. And that's all we have on the front page of the Punch newspaper this morning and other stories on the dailies. Now, join us after the break for a brief analysis of some of the stories with our guest. Welcome back. If you're just joining me, this is Today in the News on Vagad Live. My name is Damlola Ogunshaki. And joining me to analyze some of the stories on the front pages this morning is Mr. Gbero Olajigbe. He's the Executive Director of Emergency and Risk Alert. Good morning, Mr. Gbero.
Good morning.
All right, this morning we are starting with the insecurity in the country. And if you can recall, 5th July 2022, a few hours after midnight, at a time when most residents of Kuje, one of the six satellite towns bordering Nigeria's administrative city center, Abuja, were sound asleep. And but the sleep was, however, shattered by sounds of heavy gunfire and explosion, which were later traced to the famous Kuje Medium Security Custodian Center. And the center has built a reputation for being host to white collar suspects and convicted felons. Now, a security expert who reviewed the incident described the attack as well coordinated, with the terrorists using gunfire to overpower security guards and gain access into the facility. Now, as some of those people have said, lack of surveillance and tech are some of the eight things aiding criminals and terrorists in the country. What do you think about this?
Well, I think it's about our priority. It's about our priority and concern for security of the people. Because at times you wonder, what is the meaning of lack of intelligence and all those things? It's about commitment. If you criticize any of the security officer, they will, or whoever that is powerful in Nigeria, they know how to fish you out to be tried for cyber security violation. But a young man, Oja Juni, that have been crying in the forest of kidnapper for almost, if not up to this now, he hasn't been rescued. And the fate of Nigerians are like that. So there is a very culpable breach in our security sectors that is not being shown enough concern, to the extent that it becomes a condition, an issue of threat to security to the people, and even that of national security too. Because when a country has lost the capacity to protect our citizens, to protect our infrastructure, to protect critical resource of the country, of course, what is the essence of government in that type of a country? And you know that it's expressly stated that the security of the people and their welfare is the primary purpose of government. That is the constitutional provision. And it is cardinal, and it should be cardinal. So the issue of jailbreak cannot be extricated from the lackadaisical attitude of our people to security, particularly those who are entrusted with such responsibility to protect and to defend and to secure. So when you have issues, as a matter of fact, they used to say that if you want to know what is going on in a country, see what is happening to their prisoners. Listen, of course, correctional staff now, is it really correctional, or is hardening those that are put in that facility, those custodial facilities? Those are issues. There is a need of reform that is needed in Nigeria, not when you bring out reform that is even pushing people to crime itself. A very hostile and almost inhospitable economic reform. It's not the only reform that we need. We need reform to expand the scope of our humanity, how we treat even prisoners, to the extent that when they are at correctional centers, they know that they have a time and that there is reform in their life going on, and not mounting what you call correctional center that is not more than dungeon for those that have committed infraction in a society. The essence of sending people to correction centers is to correct them. And that is why you are trying to move them away from being called the custody where they are placed, or the custodial centers prison. So it's to liberate them from ill behavior, from bad behavior, from unconscionable motive to wreak havoc in society. So until you get to that level, that the most important reform that must take place in Nigeria is ethical reform that connects to the spirit of humanity, so that people begin to place value on themselves. Most people we call criminal in Nigeria today, they have been pushed to the wall by the state itself, to the extent that they become, they don't place any premium on themselves, not to talk of other people. That's why the mindless killing, mindless kidnapping, mindless hostage taking that are going on in Nigeria today is going on. So we must bring back ourselves to the committee of human beings, to the committee of nations that prioritize humanity, so that we can reclaim our commitment to promotion of human dignity. So until we begin to put such places, but as long as we continue to quantify Nigeria in terms of naira and kobo, in terms of dollars and pounds, and that is what we call development, then we will be failing ethically, and that is worse, because the money we claim to have made will be even spent on curtailing crime and criminalities.
Mr. We're talking about Mr.
It's an ecosystem
talking about the money now. You know, after the Kuje incident, investigators found out that the few CCTV cameras mounted around the prisons were non-functional. Though it was very shocking, but you know, after the mothers other murders happened in 2024, it led to calls for another round of investigation into a world of contract whose cost, according to some estimates, had risen from an initial sum of 490 USD million. Now, Senator Adamu, who was Minister of the FCT when the contract was awarded, using the 490 million USD obtained from Chinese bank, admitted to his colleagues that he was indeed the person that awarded the contract, but that the contractor disappeared with the money, 490 million US dollars.
Who is not disappearing with money today? Our politicians not disappearing with money. Contractors are chosen by them. They disappear with money in all the platform of governance we have in Nigeria. Nobody is concerned about the country. You give people to go and do CCTV. It fails. What is the repercussion? What is the consequence? And admitting that you did it on what basis? If you go back and look at the tender assessment, analysis of the tender by the board, if there is any at all, we find out that it's their paddy show and everything. Not everything is hidden in opaque in Nigeria. So there is no transparency even in award of contract itself. There is no transparency, there is no openness, there is no accountability. You don't hold contractor to, because you have collected even your shares in most of these things. You build road today, it fails tomorrow. Is that how we run a country? And we are running this country, this economy. We borrowed money, loan from sources, China or wherever, anywhere, World Bank. That is how we are running this economy. And yet people continue to steal, people continue to make illegitimate demand on the finances of the country that is almost run down irredeemably by the politicians who are in government, whether at state level, at federal level, or even at the pedestrian local government level. What can be said to be going on in Nigeria of today in form of governance under the pretense of running government is corruption 24/7. Just open all you need to do every day is open the first page of a paper. Even somebody that is almost innocuously hidden, a parastatal somewhere that you have not heard of, has stolen 40 billion. These have stolen 50 billion. And there's no consequences. You go to court, waste government money to prosecute, and no result at the end of the day. So how will people now fall in line of order and behavior? when there is no consequences for infraction that is so severe and serious as awarding contract that are no performance of such contract. So it's not only about the contractors. On what basis were the contractors awarded their contract? Not the other one. So we have a lot of issues that is going on, and that is my concern for this country. And these are the legacy we are passing on to the younger ones that are looking now and seeing how things are being done. And we continue to blame them from escaping from this hostile environment that is hostile to them, to common sense, hostile to ethical practice, hostile to decency, even in government. So the challenge is among us, and of course, except you have a self-sacrificing leaders that is ready to offer his life on that platter, that if he dies or if he perishes, he perishes. You are not getting anywhere in this country because the problem cannot be solved by people that destroy the system and continue to harm the corrupt enterprise that they have built.
All right, let's move away from that and talk about Ibrahim Babangida's book. And what do you think about what do you think about his book that he released recently?
Well, he call it a service, a journey in service, but to me, it's a journey in infamy. He's yet to repent of his malfeasance, his offenses, and of course, even that book is offending to the thought and to the thought and belief of Nigerians who are witnesses to that history of June 12th, annulment of the freest and the fairest election we ever had in the country by a dictator who is now so timid, who is now so engrossed in a very unexplainable cowardice to the extent of outsourcing his responsibility and telling people and touting it that he accepted responsibility. It takes a responsible man to accept responsibility. His behavior was extremely and grossly irresponsible in 1993. And to come 32 years after, in order to rake money from his cliques and those that he has corruptly rich, is sad to the part of our national history that he represented. Or he doesn't represent it anymore because his years are gone. One would have expected that as he has aged, he will have a very repentant heart. Not to, who is asking him to accept responsibility after 32 years. What is the meaning that I have responsibility? Is that a solution? Is that a problem? And of course, it deframes most of the questions that are germane to the annulment of June 12th. If a soldier should come out and say that he didn't want to be killed, he couldn't die for his country, and then you are celebrating such person, a villain, then the joke is on the country and the people that gather together to celebrate him in the course of the tissue of lies that he has brought out to call his autobiography. His life is intertwined with that of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and he must be judged in accordance with what he has done. I lost my own friend, Alawale, during the crisis, during the protests and everything. We were schoolmates, we were classmates on the street of Lagos. So how is he going to take responsibility for that? For the family or for who? After many years, you know, people that were killed, women that were killed, other people that were killed along the Ikorodu Road while protesting. Do you know how even Sonny Abacha and his killing gang in power mauled down Kudirat Abiola on the street of Lagos, a woman callously killed? How is he taking responsibility for that? How is he taking responsibility for chaotic national dynamics that made people from the south to be traveling up and down from south to north, and those from the north in the south traveling to the north, and because of their traveling journey, they lost their lives? How is he taking responsibility for that? How is he taking responsibility for the country he has created, Look, the ethnicity we're dealing with today will have been those gaps closed by the election because Abiola defeated Tofa, even in Kano, his hometown in the north. So it was an election that was meant to unite Nigeria, to bridge our ethnic gaps. But Babangida destroyed it. It destroyed democracy. It destroyed opportunity to institute to build national cohesion and to institute a formidable front of existence as Nigeria. So his book was shameful. At that age, he should do more than that. I think he has done himself a lot of disservice by coming out with that type of fictitious book that didn't speak to fact in every sense of it. There is no scintilla of truth in the book he has put out. He evaded every question. He outsourced his responsibility, now blaming the dead. Most of his witnesses are the dead. If not Abacha, it will be another person that is in the grave already. How do you corroborate such historical fact from those that have died? Abacha is no longer alive to fight for himself. Anyway, it was just a successor of the evil regime that Babangida planted. So what was in the book? How coups were made and how counter-coups were made. And those are the things that we should be celebrating in a democracy. But astonishingly, you have people who stood on June 12th at that particular time, now standing with Babangida again. That is the color of chameleon. And on principle, Lord, to gather together with him to celebrate tissues of lies that is shown out in form of book. So it was not a journey into service. It didn't do Nigeria any service. It was a journey in infamy, a journey in disservice, a journey in unpatriotic behavior and act, a journey in democratic calamity.
All right, Mr. Gwele, let's talk about the money, the donations. Now, the Nigerian Business Elite announced that 17.5 billion naira in the donations to the IBB Presidential Library project that was launched on Thursday in Abuja for the autobiography. Now, we had the likes of our billionaire industrialist, Abdul Samad Rabiu. He donated 5 billion naira, and also we have Aliko Dangote donated 2 billion, even pledged to have 2 billion naira annually over the next 3 years, and others also donated money. What do you think about this money that was donated to the project?
Well, let me quote one of the donors, Otto Ese. He said, Babangida is a good man. He has no enemy. He was just cheering. I'm quoting Otto Ese, who donated 500 million, 0.5 billion. So that is telling you the character of those who donated. It's time to pay back according to him. Dangote brought out history of how he gathered them in a room and gave them licenses to drill oil for 1 million naira there, and then other things. So those who are paying back are those who benefited from the infamy that he led in the form of governance. While Babangida has no right to build presidential library, he was never a president in the first place. He couldn't have built a presidential library. President and presidentialism, there are factors and issues and cardinal terms of democracy. Babangida was not one. He uprooted democracy. He overthrew the democratic government. So he has no right to even think of building a presidential library at all. Those who donated, they donated out of the illogicality that brought them out as shining star of our businesses. They donated upon the reason of what they have benefited from his infamous government, ineptly corrupt government that he led at that particular time. Babangida did not answer the question of what happened to 2.8 billion in his book. He didn't answer that. The windfall, oil windfall how the money was spent. He didn't answer that. He didn't answer that question. Those are critical questions to Nigerians. So he avoided the questions of those ones. So he was never a president. I was at best a dictator, an head of state. If he wants to build a library, he shouldn't have built or conceived to build presidential library. He should have called it library or a dictator's library. That would have been better. He was never a president. No matter what he called himself, he uprooted the constitution of Nigeria. He outlawed the constitution. He instituted himself and called himself the names he wanted to call himself. That did not call and does not qualify him to be a president. It's only here that we have exemption as our rule. So Babangida was an exception to democracy. He was neither a president nor presidential in the act of performance over his presiding the affair of Nigeria. He was at best a head of state. He was the head of state, brutally appointed by the military to dastardly supervise over Nigerian economy and politics. So he wasn't a president. So it's illogical for him to be having presidential library. And those who donated out of either ignorance or the belief in the fact that, he shared the money to them according to our policy. And now it's time for them to pay back what he shared to them. Now that they have become big boys and big girls. And they are giving back to their benefactors. Not on behalf of Nigerians. These are characters. This is a country that has 20 million out of school children. 6 million displaced persons in the north. What have these characters done for them? Just within 1 hour, 2 hours, they were able to raise over 17 billion naira for a villain, not a hero. So it's shameful. And of course, that is the character of Nigeria. That is the enterprise that govern Nigeria. Those who gathered are the people they used to call those who shape Nigeria, who shape opinion. And you can see that it flow out from the criminal engagement with government. And of course, from their benefit, they have given back to their benefactors.
All right, Mr. Beru, let's set this on a lighter note this morning with Mr. and Mrs. And the first person talking is Mr. Mr. says, you want to whisper something into my ears, but there are only two of us here, dear. And Mrs. replied, I know, when you want something from your husband, something he reluctantly gives, ask softly.
Anyway, that is an enduring strategy. So when you want to do something that is, you can easily say, don't let the other person know. You need to whisper it. And of course, it's a very enduring strategy that has been put in place by women for a long time. And of course, there's nothing bad in that strategy. Whisper it and it becomes a reality. Because that if you say it direct or you don't whisper, you don't test grant, there could be resistance.
Yes.
But with lovely whisper, you even do what you are not supposed to do at times, at least for people you love.
Yeah.
So Mr. should calm down and dip his hand in his pocket and perform.
Thank you, Mr. Beru, for joining us this morning.
It's a pleasure being with you.
Thank you. Do want to like and follow us on all our social media platforms showing on your screen on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can also visit our website www.vanguardngr.com. My name is Damlola Ogunshaki. Have a lovely Wednesday.